contact!
How deep can you plunge into the darkness?
Through the dark veil of space, time.
I wish we could have joined you sooner.
This is Warp Chatter.
Time is short. There is much to be done.
The wait ends now.
All right, well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome back once again to the Warp Chatter podcast, the podcast dedicated to talking about Horus Heresy Legion's digital card game, Horus Heresy Lore Warhammer 40,000, everything that encompasses. You know, I say that every time, and I don't know if we really talk about everything that encompasses, but we try. We try really hard. Sometimes we're just given what we got when we do the lore discussions. Today, we were really hoping with our podcast that's for players by players, we're really hoping that we'd have a balanced patch to discuss today as of September 8th through the Eye of Terror storms. That's when we're recording this. So by the time it makes it to you, maybe a balanced patch graced us the following day or 2 or 3 days ago. Maybe you've seen something that we haven't seen, but we don't have that to discuss today. We're going to have to discuss some other stuff. We're going to be talking about A.O.E. cards. We're going to be talking about all those tactics that do damage, spread damage, different ways to make damage across the board. Not even tactics. I mean, there's some Warlords that do damage A.O.E. as well. And, you know, just kind of some tips, some tricks, some problems, some pros, cons, highs, lows. What factions A.O.E. is worth it, what isn't. Whatever. But before we get to that, I'm your host, Gus D. That is my introduction. We're going to do player introductions. With us today, we've got, as always, the crab co-host, Axel Manning.
Howdy ho, folks.
And then joining us today is Diony.
Hello there.
Hello. So, I've gone on a little bit as far as what we're going to be talking about. Diony, tell us about yourself.
Well, my nickname in the game is Diony. I am the Lodge Master for the Dreadhouse Lodge. We are part of the Praetorians network, so we are a little network of 2 lodges. We are like a semi-competitive lodge, and we usually play event, but we are a lot of veteran players that play since beta, like myself, and yeah.
Okay. Well, what got you into the game? How long have you been playing?
I guess playing beta or since the start of the official start of the game, so pretty long. And way back when the game started. Yeah, so I started right from the beginning, basically. And my tabletop club in town basically showed me the game. And I was into 40k and 30k lore beforehand, so it looked fun. And I played a lot of card games beforehand, like Gwen and Hearthstone, basically, and whatever card game I could find that had fun mechanics.
Okay. Were there other people in your tabletop group that still play?
Yeah, sure. We have a lodge for the tabletop club, but they just play practice. So
okay. Okay.
And that's it.
Nothing wrong with that. But that's cool. That's kind of a unique of all the different introductions. I think we've heard of people have kind of found the game, you know, to it just being shared the classic way, right? You're just playing with friends, you're doing other things, and then somebody says, "Hey, check this out," and you get into it that way. That's pretty cool. That
was nice. Huh?
Yeah. What faction do you play on tabletop, or like do you just play 40k, or do you play all the different fantasy 30k?
I used to play 30k back in the day, but it's like I think 8 years ago. But I didn't dabble in the new edition yet. So and I sold my army a few years ago, and in 40k I have Custodes and Angels Vermilion.
Okay.
Space Marine Chat.
Nice. That's Custodes, and then an Astartes chapter that isn't Iron Warriors and or whatever like flavor of the week is for the Loyalist. What is that right now? Like, what's the dominant Loyalist chapter in 40k tabletop? Like the rules flavor of the week.
Yeah, I think Space Marines are pretty bad right now, but from what I can hear, I think the best chapter is probably the Dark Angels because they have the Terminator spam.
Okay.
Yeah, that's always solid.
With
Let's
the
see
Angels
a podcast
Vermilion,
on
like,
that.
did you pick that just based on like the paint scheme or the lore, or?
So I'm a huge Blood Angels fan, and I read all the books and in 30K and 40K. I was looking for a chapter, and it's like, yeah, Flash Terrors sound pretty awesome, but everyone is doing Flash Terrors, but they do not like when they do Blood Angels, but not really Blood Angels. And then I dipped a little bit deeper into the lore, found the Angels Vermilion, and they're like an Offspring chapter, and they have like some dark secret, whatever, and Dante doesn't like them, but then they come to help in some books, and they're pretty cool. So the paint scheme is cool as well, like a darker red. So I choose them.
All right. Yeah, when in doubt, just give your Astartes chapter a dark secret. Like that's
It
always
always
good.
will.
Oh,
There's at least one Blood Angel chapter that's dark secret. Is I forget if it's Zinch or Slanesh just keeps offering them to get rid of their curse, and they just keep turning them down. But they constantly talk about demons because of it.
yeah, it's the Angels Vermilion.
Ah.
Is it Vermilion? Oh, I forgot if it's Vermilion or the other one that was all about, like, I forget if it's Zinch or Slanesh. He's always trying to seduce them to chaos.
Yeah, so basically there's the story goes something, I think I read it a few years ago, so I'm not sure if it's still the same, but basically the Blood Angels send I think a little delegation or a chaplain to the Angels Vermilion. I don't know if they have they're a fleet based or if they have a planet, but basically they visit them, and then the chaplain comes back and says something like they offer people to whatever, probably the Dark Gods or something, and try to lift the curse or something, and then Dante doesn't want to have to deal with them anymore and cuts contact, but like I said, they need the help from them, then they help at the devastation of Dal.
Right, and all the Blood Angels Secundus kind of come back to make their save the planet, save Baal from the Tyranids.
Save the planet, mind you, almost everyone dies in the process.
Hey, you know what? At what cost? That's like half of the 40K stories are like, we won, but at what cost?
I found out what chapter I was referencing. It's the Blood Drinkers, where they regularly have to offer offerings to Kairos Fate Weaver in order to not everyone get the Black Rage at the same time. Yeah, the Vermilion, they just eat a bunch of their serfs, which is normal for the Blood Angels. That's just what you do.
Which is the Blood Angels Secundus chapter that is in Death of Integrity? I think that's the only Secundus novel I read. That was a Space Marines Battles book, and it was like this Blood Angels chapter basically faces the Death of Integrity, which is a Space Hulk, a massive Space Hulk. And through the course of their diving deep into it, the chapter master goes into like the Black Rage, but the Black Rage carries him. Was that the Blood Drinkers?
Yeah, it's a Blood Drinker.
Okay, and it carries him like all the way to like the center where he finds this like ancient ship that like reveals this dark secret. It goes crazy.
Yep. The entire time they thought they were talking to like the Sanguinor or something, where it's like trying to prove their worth. No, it's just Kairos fucking with him.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Death of
Zinch is obvious.
It was not
he's
bad.
arguably the best Chaos guy.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad story. It was relatively well written, but I just felt like I think that was the last 40K book I read, because then my time for reading novels is like small. So if I'm gonna read, back in the day, it was like, 40K book, I'll just pick it up and read it. Now it's like, I don't have time. I'm still working on the Siege of Terra. I am about 20% through Lost in the Damned, which is book 2 of the Siege of Terra. So I'm making progress, but that's the rate at which I read. So
they're almost finished now.
Yes, I'm going to get through it. By the end of this year, my goal is to be through book 3. I don't know. I got 3 months to do it. I think I can make it.
You got this.
I can.
The newest 2 books are written by Dan Abnett and Aaron Dembski-Bowden, so they're going to be really good.
Yeah, that's a good way to capstone it off. And I know, obviously, there's going to be. I still got the Sons of the Selenar and Fury of Magnus to read in there as well, but those are smaller. Those are novellas, so I'll get through it.
At least they picked the best writers they could to finish it up.
That's how you got to start it and end it that way, right?
Because
Start
I mean,
strong,
like,
end it strong. Don't end it weak. Don't end it that way.
I know some people complain about Aaron Dembski-Bowden. I don't really know why.
I don't agree with the complaints, but I know who you're talking about.
People say he's too chaos focused. He loves chaos too much, but is that a problem?
I don't think he's chaos focused. I think he's written Loyalist very well.
His Loyalist books are great.
Yeah, if you haven't read Hell's Reach, that's a fantastic book.
I guess people's problem is just like, if chaos is in there, chaos isn't just treated as mustache twirling villains.
I think that's the thing. Like when you've got your chaos, like if you want just a generic bad guy, great. There's dozens of those. If you want a generic bad guy, use the orcs or the Tyranids. But the chaos have got a history to them, especially when it is like a founding legion. It's not just like some renegade marine. Yeah. And I think he does a really good job giving you characters that you can maybe not fully necessarily agree with, but at the same time see their side of things, and that makes for interesting. If you've watched a TV show and you found yourself not rooting for the bad guy, but at least being like, wow, this is a pretty cool character, that's the approach that you want. If I just wanted to have, like, every day I'm watching a show and they're just facing this bad guy in a mask, and he's
on Saturday morning cartoons.
No, that's just it. Like, it's too, it doesn't press anything. And 40K at this point in age has grown so well that I think it really should not necessarily push boundaries, but just like, hey, be better writing. Like, give us. I mean, people.
40K is doing a really good job at that.
Yeah,
where it's like no one's necessarily good, but you're no longer going, the Necrons are just mustache twirling villains, because we actually hear their ferret. Well, we don't hear them, but you know what I mean. We read them and such, and people, they have their plots, they have their motivations.
Well, it's like you read the original Space Wolf books written by William King, and they're not written the greatest, but they were what they were at the time. They were one of the few books, and it was one of the best successful, Black Library books for Astartes, for Space Marines, for Space Wolves. But you read them, and it's really just all focused on the Space Wolves, and there's a problem, and at the end of the book, it turns out that the problem was, revealed to be run by that crazy, Thousand Suns Chaos Sorcerer who jumps back through the portal, and he gets away this time. And it's very classic, it's very generic, it worked for the time, but the lore for the Space Wolves, the lore for the Thousand Suns, the lore for even Tzeentch itself has been, dived so much more that it's like, if you were to give us the same book, same concept like that in the day, I don't know, I think a lot of people would be upset and feel like insulted as readers. It's like, that's it? I don't know.
Well, they did similar with an Alpha Legion book not long ago, where it's like, and at the end of the day, it was a Necron Deceiver, and he disappeared. So the entire book didn't matter.
Yeah, so when you read that, it's like, okay, thanks.
I forget which Alpha Legion book it was, but it's the Alpha Legion, I don't really want to call them chapter, but like Warband, where none of them are Alpha Legion. You know what I'm talking about?
I have heard of it. I don't know. I don't know the books for this.
The entire plot is we're trying to find Omegon because we think he's out here, and then it's just a deceiver pulling a prank. It's like, okay, so this is a filler arc of a book.
That's the best.
Well, most books are, like most 40K books, are just a waste of time. Exactly.
Well, there's a lot of gold. It's just, a lot of them aren't.
That's exactly.
I'm fine with the one-off adventures, but if the one-off adventure has an ending that's fulfilling.
There are some very good ones, but they've always had bad ones. I mean, they're not all great.
Well, that's what happens when you have multiple writers.
Yeah.
I mean, even their games.
I think the whole thing with the books, too, and I think we've said this a couple times, I mean, like, with the 40K, and granted now they're doing episodic books, and we talked a little bit about this on the Discord, in the lore channel. I think there was a discussion today. The books now with the Dark Millennium are doing episodic stuff, so things that happened last book matter to what happens this book. Like, if you've read most other book series, Star Wars, any sort of fantasy series like that has a progressive plot over the course of a trilogy or quadrilogy or whatever, like, that's typically how books were always done. 40K was the first universe that I got into where it literally was like, it doesn't matter. Like, pick a book, It has no consequence to any other book here whatsoever. Like, if you read a short story collection, you might have like a short story about a character that shows up in another book. That's it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All is war. There can be only war. Everywhere is fighting everything at the same time, and this is the hodgepodge of it. And that's really liberating when you just want to write a book like about, hey, catechins versus Tyranids. Let's do it. Okay, cool. Write a book. It has no consequence. But except for those characters that are in that book right there, and you can make the consequence, apocalyptic, if you really want to. Why not? It doesn't matter anywhere else. If the planet dies, it means nothing.
My favorite are the galaxy-ending threats contained solely on this one random planet in the middle of nowhere. So looking at you, Dan.
No,
they're going to destroy the Imperium. It's on this one backwater planet no one's ever heard of, and only I'm here.
And they stop it, and then there's another one, tomorrow. It was just Thursday in the 40K universe.
And then it reveals that there's a guy doing it on every planet, and then that's the entirety of Eisenhorn. I love those books, but
I think they work really well. And some of them are not written well, and that's really where the writing suffers. But I like the ones that I've enjoyed, where it's just pocket adventures. I think the Imperial Guard Regiment stories. They've done a couple omnibuses. Those are great. Those, I think there's been only a couple that I have not liked. Yeah.
The big ones everyone knows is Gunn and Kane. They're both amazing.
Those are good.
There's Creed, the one with Creed gathering his forces to do the Black Crusade or defend against it.
I think
really good.
Talon Raiders, the Jungle Fighters. These are just books just based off the regiments. Firstborn, which is about the destroying Firstborn. They're fighting orcs. Gunheads was awesome. Gunheads was really fun. It was all like an armored company and a really cool, I don't want to say battle, but kind of a journey for this armored company. I won't spoil anything, but that was a fun read. That stands out in memory. There was another one. There was was it 15 hours? 15 hours or 16 hours? I think it's 15 hours.
It's
14.
I think it's 15.
It's 14. It's somewhere in the teens.
Because that's a life expectancy in the Imperial Guard.
Right, exactly. And that was really good because it was written this is it. The stakes are
we will not get out of here.
That's exactly right. But at the same time, it was written well and it was enjoyable. And there you go. Yeah. Those work really well. You can do the same thing with some Space Marine books, but I've also read some Space Marine books that I just was not even, this isn't even cliched. It's just terrible writing. It's just gross. I felt bad reading it, and I put the book down when it was done, and I was like, who wrote this? I will not read their stuff again.
Remember some authors I can't read anymore. I think Geoff Thorpe I just can't read Geoff Thorpe. It's not I think the guy is a pretty cool guy, but his writing is just not my style. I just can't finish. I couldn't finish his Siege of Terror book, and I couldn't finish his Dark Angels books, and I couldn't finish his Space Wolf book. So I just stopped reading his stuff.
Which one?
Scott has a famous author.
Who?
Our favorite.
Ben Counter?
Ben Counter.
Fuck that guy. Ben Counter is my least favorite. And that's acknowledging that C.S. Godo is terrible and then saying he's terrible, but this guy.
But this is worse.
This guy. Fuck this guy. Fuck Ben Counter.
This guy makes C.S. Godo write good books.
God. C.S. Godo is he's like the professor who's got tenure, and you're like, well, I guess we have to acknowledge that he has written a lot. Whatever. It's not good. His views are dated. Whatever. He's misogynistic. Whatever.
A man gets molested with a stick.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But then Ben Counter, you're like, I don't know how this guy got the job. That's such a slam. But at the same time, I can't. I'm not going to do it.
You say? Diony?
He probably knows someone at Games Workshop. That's how Games Workshop works.
That's
someone, and you will.
It's possible. Back in the day, they used to have, and they've done it off and on. I think I don't know if they still do it anymore with the way things are going, but they would have annually the short story writing contest for Black Library, and it was a great way for new authors to get in, and you'd submit your material, and they'd review it, and the winners, I think the first 3 winners that they chose got their stories published, and then potentially had the option to write books, and that's how they got a couple of the authors discovered. I forget the guy's name. He wrote the Inquisition War series, I want to say. And then I think he got like hung out over some plagiarism, so he's not doing stuff anymore for them. He was one of them. Guy Haley, I don't think Guy Haley came in that way, but there was somebody else in that newer vein era that got a story published and then got a book.
I just remembered Inquisition War is Ian Watson, isn't it? Or did they have more than one series called that?
Might have had, but maybe it's not him. Maybe it's...
Because I was going to say, Ian Watson called his 3 books the Inquisition War.
I'd have to take a look back at the 40K books, and I don't... There was an Inquisitor, and there was Chaos involved in the one and some Assassins, and it was written okay, and there was 3 of them, I believe. I know what
you're talking about now. Isn't one of... It's not... They don't go to Terra per chance, but it's similar story beats to Ian Watson now that I think about it in hindsight.
Probably.
I remember seeing the books that I could get.
I had actually, I mean, just a soft plug, but this is back in college, and I was a finalist in one of their fantasy competitions, a fantasy short story competition, and my story was about Khorne and this old Empire general, and I worked with Nick Kime. He was the editor on the book at the time, so that was kind of cool. And I wish I would have worked a little bit better on it and like spent some more time like communicating like via email, because I don't think I used the time I was given wisely to get feedback enough to like make it better to pass the final cut. So I was a finalist, but I wasn't the winner. I wasn't one of the winners. There was 5 finalists, 3 winners. And I was like, I felt like, man, if I just would have maybe asked a few more questions and could have tweaked it a little bit. Because basically what I did is I had a story. You send in like it was like 1-page draft or like a teaser basically to see, so they could see what your writing's like, and they're like, we like it, write us a story about it with it was like 5,000 words. So I wrote a story and it was like 5,100 words. Like I was really focused on the word counts. Like they said 5,000, I want to keep it under 5,000, and then they got it and they're like, it's really good, but you have to change like the last half of the story. Like that we can't have that ending. And I was like, okay, I can do it. Let me figure out. And I got to work, and then I got it like at 5,000 words again. But again, I was so focused on the word count, and I really wish I would have like asked for feedback. Like, hey, is it okay if I'm over the word count? Can I do this? Can I do that? Like just to pepper them with some questions to know what was okay and what wasn't. Because I think if I would have done that, obviously it would have turned out better, or at least I would have been, I could have said, I took your notes and you said it wasn't good enough. Damn it, Nick Kime. Anyways.
Oh, well. I think he's still the editor, right?
Yeah, he's still an editor, and obviously he's the Salamanders author. Like, I mean, he's really into Salamanders. Yeah. But he wasn't a bad guy. He was pretty easy to work with, and again, my experience was literally just over the course of like 3 months. It wasn't a huge thing. But it was really best friends. Exciting, yeah.
They're pen pals to this day.
No, I wish. I wish, but he's got stuff to do, and I had stuff to do. But at the same time, it was cool to be that, and that was something that they did. And I don't know if they still do that anymore. I know they put it on hold for a couple of years, and I think they brought it back, and then I don't know if they still do it. But it's a great way to discover talent. But eventually, they got some good writers, and if those good writers keep putting out talent, they don't need more ones. I
think at most he's been there for 3 years. Mike Brooks, he did the Orc book, and it's actually pretty good. He did several Orc books.
Mm.
Yeah, he did the Alfarius Primarch novel.
Yep. He did Alfarius. He did the new Blackheart novel.
Yeah, that's awesome as well.
He has that has a dumb moment involving Abaddon in that one, but like any book involving Abaddon is dumb because no harm can be brought to him, so he kind of just does what he wants.
It's funny you mentioned that because like I'm reading Lost in the Damned, and I just finished a chapter which was kind of like, the fleet is holding over Terra and they're bombarding. Abaddon is kind of reflecting on, he's watching Horus like meditate and try to commune with the dark gods or whatever, and like there's literally a line in there, and I don't have the book with me to pull it out and whisper, but there's literally a line like, Abaddon had no weaknesses. And I was like, fuck you. Like, god damn it. It's so bad. It's like, he has no weaknesses? Come on, stop it.
Oh, man.
Anyways.
I hate Abaddon as a character.
You can be a bad guy and be a Mary Sue. It's possible.
You can, and Abaddon's the example of it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, Mary Sue's aside, Abaddon's
We got to
aside, we got to talk.
We got to the everything part.
Yeah,
you mentioned in the intro, but we got to it today.
We did it. We covered some things that you didn't think we were going to talk about today. You tuned in to listen about A.O.E, and next thing you know, we're slamming Ben Counter. We're talking about Black Labyrinth Contest and Angels Vermilion. Check it.
To be fair, we slam Ben Counter every episode.
If we can. So. Can we get a Ben Counter slam count?
At this point, since he's been mentioned, we've got him.
Yeah.
Oh, easily.
How many episodes are
every
there?
Other.
That's it. Rack it up.
Yeah. Add it up. Double it even.
Well, A.O.E. A.O.E. What does A.O.E. stand for? Quick, Axel, go.
Area of effect.
All right. Diony, what does A.O.E. stand for?
I guess area of effect.
It doesn't stand for attack on anything?
Awesome old explosions.
Asses of eaters?
Ass of eaters.
Yeah.
Eater of asses.
I think attack on everything or area of effect is the best way to explain
the big boom.
But come up with basically cards that do damage to all or many targets, multiple targets. And we have that in the shape of a variety of tactics, many of which are neutrals, but at the same time, a lot of factions have got them too. Harrowing, the hammer, defensive satellites, artillery strike, or mortar strike. Well, mortar strike more than artillery strike more than mortar strike. I'm sorry, I'm mixing up my strikes. Informant network, frag grenade, Titan guns that shoot everything, Zardu Layak, Mandragorax. Like there's a lot to be said. There's a lot of things, but whether you like it or not, it's hard to build a deck and not include some form of AoE, whether that is a rally effect from a troop or an ability or a tactic. Like, I mean, the way the game works, the way the games are played with stealth troops, ward troops, duplicitous troops that have got, the Zoob decks that swarm the board, like, it just helps to have some AoE in decks, and some decks, that's all they run because that's their style, and some only need one or two because that's their style. So we're going to look at them. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get into it. I want to hear your guys' takes on AoE first. Do you like it? Do you hate it?
I'm going to say in this day and age, everyone needs AoE. I cannot think of any reason for your deck not to pack at least one, because matchups, Jaeger spam. What are you going to do? Can you take out more than one with mortar? Is mortar strike mortar strike's a 5. Yeah, you're not going to take out the Jaeger with a mortar strike.
Right.
You're going to need a defense satellite, or even just the informant network can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Got to pack it. And most factions bring it. Are there any factions that don't have any AoE whatsoever? It may not be best, but I'm pretty sure every faction has one.
I feel like every faction has one, but I think it's possible there are a couple that don't. Orphans of War feels like it doesn't.
It does, but no one wants to use Rotten War.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, I think it's a 5 energy one that deals 3 to the entire.
You're right. That deals. Yep.
I will pack it if I feel like I've been fighting a lot of Zariel today.
Mm-hmm.
But besides that, I mean, I think every faction has one. Even if it harms yourself, like Fall of Gardenell.
Mm-hmm.
If it's there, I'm bringing it.
Yep, you've got Fall of Gardenell, you've got Gunfried for the Imperial Fist, as well as the Whirlwind, which hits all 3. Not even counting turrets,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch. There's bad ones. No one really wants to run the Emperor's Children Barge, but at the same time, that Barge can be really useful against Jaeger spam, where it's like, I'm going to spend 2 energy to wipe your entire board. Goodbye. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say in this day and age, AoE is just a constant. What do you think, Diony?
Yeah, same. Basically, if you want to climb the ladder, you have to include some way of AoE damage, and some warlords or factions just include it anyway because that's what they do, and other factions have to take some neutral ones, and I guess the predominant one is Informant Network, because you need anti-stealth as well. So basically just catch 2 birds with 1 stone and take Informant Network.
Mm-hmm.
Or death sets.
I think a big thing with Informant Network for me, because I agree. I mean, it kills 2 birds with 1 stone. It's pretty versatile. There are some decks my style in general is sometimes I build a deck and I'm like, what if I run into it and I get hosed, whatever. I want 3 other cards in my deck instead of the 1 card that I may use. I take that chance in some, and some I don't. But I think something to consider too is how often does your deck do AoE? Because that really makes it easier. If you've got more than one way to spread damage to stealth targets or precog targets, or whatever it is, whether that's an ability, whether that's several troops that rally, whether that's double harrowings or stuns, maybe that's all you need. You know, if you're playing Sheed Ranko, you don't need Informant Network, because if you need it, you just drop a couple of Deceived Cultists, and that's your AoE, and you build on that every turn. If you're playing a Veronica Suloff, I just did a video deck list for her last week, and I've got like 5 tactics in the deck. It's very light on tactics, but the troops included have got a lot of AoE. You drop those Winch Hunters, you drop the Retribution Squad, the 2/4s that burn for 1. You know, there may be a troop that gets through, but when I'm burning the whole board for 4 damage, that's pretty significant. And I've also got the Steel Talon Hawk to deal with the stealth troop early in the game. So I don't need an Informant Network, but I do have AoE. Like, it's still in there. Yeah. It's just in abundance, so it kind of diminishes my need for specific AoEs. Like Sons of Horus, they could include a frag grenade.
That's so much AoE.
They have a lot, right? They've got troops that do damage on rally. They've got damage tactics. They could include defensive satellites and Informant Network and just clear the board and burn it. But then they've also got frag grenade in there too. Like, do they need a bunch of AoE, or do they have it in other ways? Like, I mean, if I had to choose between frag grenade and Informant Network, I'd take the Informant Network in that deck just because then I can break stealth and then maybe hit it with a stun or hit it with the, you know, Chariot of the Gods. But the whole deck is going to go off and burn things anyways.
Yeah. There's some factions that definitely benefit from it more because others just have ways to do it. For example, if I'm playing Zardu, I'm not packing AoE half the time.
Right.
Focused AoE?
Yes. When you've got a Warlord that starts with AoE.
Cassian? Oh.
Mm-hmm.
What's a Jaeger?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it also broadens up your range on specific AoEs too, right? Like Cassian.
Yeah.
For 7 energy, now that's minimal, but 7 energy, your defensive satellites, instead of doing 1 to 4, are doing 2 to 5 minimum. Like that opens a threshold, you know. If you've got Zardu Layak, it's a little bit more targeted, but if you're starting out the whole game and you're burning things, like it's harder for your opponent to get a bigger board to dilute your AoE.
Yeah. And even then, you can combine it with other AoE. Like, the Word Bearers have one very good AoE, and then one I like simply because Destiny Hand is fun. But Camille is crazy in value.
Yes.
You're more often going to wipe at least 2 troops with it ever used.
Yeah,
There's really no way to complain.
I would agree.
Yeah. Solid card. I can't think of any faction AoE that's just blatantly bad and you ever want, besides, like, I guess the Orphan of War one. Isn't there one that stuns troops?
Oh, go ahead.
The Demons one is pretty bad.
Yes.
Is the Demon one stun?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that one's bad.
Yeah, it stuns your stuff on your turn, which means you're going to be stunned on your next turn, too.
Yeah, which is just not good. Stun, yeah. I can agree on that one being bad. I forgot which one stunned, but yeah.
Yeah, I would say that one. What's it called? Not Planetary Purge, right? What is it?
The 4E?
No.
I think it's Planetary Trap.
Planetary Trap. That's right. Yeah. That's right.
There's a lot of cards with similar names.
Yeah.
We even have a few with the exact same art. Looking at you, Space Wolves and Agent Sigillet.
Very close. Very close. Yeah, Agents of the Sigillet, I mean, they've got the Seal of the Sisterhood, so...
Seal of the Sisterhood may be the best AoE in the game. Behind, like... Well, I guys Endurance isn't the best, but it's very good.
I mean, if we're talking faction-specific AoE, what would you guys' top 3? Because that's a good contender. I don't disagree, but I'm kind of curious. Like, if you had to put 3, because there's so many factions, it's hard to just name one. But I think there's a good list at the top. Yeah, no neutrals, just faction-specific AoE.
Okay, I'm not going to count Agent Sigillet's secret sister order because technically a special card because that's just number 1 automatically. So I'm gonna have to go Endurance at the top. Cull was I like Cull. I like the Cull a lot. I like to be able to wipe a board and then still do some stuff on my turn. That's my lot. I kind of just want to give it to Camille simply because if I'm using it as a direct face damage, I'm still getting value out of it. And if not, I can wipe a board.
Okay.
What's your take?
How about you?
Yeah. I think endurance is. Yeah, I don't want to say the same three again, but
You
endurance
could.
is pretty awesome. I think I'll go for a little wild card. I think my number one AOE card is the Last Cutter because it's insane.
Okay. I forgot Knights even existed. Bring
It's-
back old Flame Cannon, and then we'll have this discussion.
That's a fair. I mean, Last Cutter as a nomination. Yeah, that thing can.
When I think AOE, I was thinking tactics and a couple rallies. I forgot about Night Weapons. Yeah, Last Cutter is just dominate the board, the card.
Yeah, so number one for me is Last Cutter.
Yep.
Number two for me is Curse of the Raven, because it's such a good tempo card for the Raven Guard. It synergizes so well with everything they do, and I don't know if I can. Yeah. Like Curse of the Raven, including what's the other card called? 6 energy and
Shadow Killers.
Yeah.
Shadow Killers. Yeah, that's auto mission usually. And then for my third one, I will take the Tithe from the Sisters.
Yeah,
All right.
that's pretty good.
Tithe, not quite AOE, but at the same time, you're destroying everything. I'm not going to say it's not. I mean,
I
come
don't
on.
know.
Like, let's be real.
I would call the Conqueror AOE because it is an area of effect spell.
Yeah,
It takes out everything.
exactly.
So yeah, I
damage or
I
not.
definitely count.
Yeah, damage or not, you're clearing the board. Like, that's a fair nomination. And potentially doing damage to the enemy Warlord. It's hard because, like I said, like I don't think there's anything wrong here. Like I think every faction has got like, oh, that's such a good card. Of course, it does because they need that. They need that AOE.
Also, I feel like every AOE has its place, minus the Runestorm one. Because we were mentioning it earlier, but Emperor's Children's Barge. It's like, yeah, this isn't great, but if I draw it as Fulgrim against like a bunch of Jaegers, I'll be happy.
I would say a long time ago, in a galaxy far away.
Star Wars reference.
Yeah, that card in beta was okay because there was no other AOE besides defensive satellites. So that was it. And you're like, okay, you could play that and defensive satellites in the same turn and clear a board if your opponent was playing a lot of troops. And the game was a lot more troop centric because there wasn't as much damage dealing tactics. But it has not aged well at all.
No.
God, I'm like
I would
looking
never
like
include it.
faction specific. I'm gonna go with very similar to Tithe. I'm gonna go with Behind Enemy Lines.
Okay, yeah, that's solid.
I'm gonna go with I like Auric Mortalis. I just like it. I like the combo. I like the potential. By itself, it doesn't seem like great, but with Custodes and the way they can do it, you can do a lot with it. And giving your Warlord first strike, everything like that, I just like it. Like, that's really good. I think Auric Mortalis is awesome. And
most factions getting it don't need it, but with Custodes, they synergize with it perfectly.
Yeah. And I mean, Endurance is great. I won't mention Endurance again because, like I said, I think there's just so much to mention. Every faction's got one. I'm going to mention Viral Bombs because that is one of the most fun AoEs to play, like hands down.
Oh, yeah.
You play it for a draw. You can play it to, like, as long as you've got more health than your opponent, like, just blow up everything. And depending on, sometimes there's backlashes that trigger more explosions. Like, it's just fun. Like, once you hit that 5 energy mark, especially if there's a couple troops on the board that have got 2 and 3 health, you're like, oh boy, is it going to go off? And then if you're on the other side, you've got the viral bombs, you start doing the math, and you're like, can I kill them all? Can I nuke the whole planet?
What's the 3 energy card? Is it Darkening Skies?
Yes.
Darkening Skies and Viral Bomb. That's a combo for 8 energy.
Yep.
That's the board now belongs to me. And everything on it's dead.
You just got to stay a little above your opponent in health to take advantage of it, but it's pretty cool that way. Yeah, those are the 3. I mean, and I don't think there's really a wrong answer other than, like we said, I do think that the Planetary Trap is probably not a good one. I would argue, Planetary Purge has its place.
It used to be a lot better.
It did. It used to be much better.
But it was kind of too good in a scenario where the game just wouldn't end for so long.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think where it is right now, it's better. It's not reliable, but at the same time, if you're playing that kind of deck, or you pack it for that reason, like, you run the chance. And I think that's the other element of a lot of these AoE cards to talk about is the randomness, the RNG factor, because many of them are, especially the neutral ones, but not just the neutral, that random element. Like some of these, they come with a price. They attack everything, but they are not guaranteed what you're going to get. What are you guys' thoughts on the RNG element? Is it too much? Are there some
personally,
you wish there weren't?
I mean, personally, my defense satellites are perfect 100% of the time, so I don't have to worry about that. But outside of that very niche scenario where I get the most luck any man's ever had, I really don't like leaning towards RNG too much. At the end of the day, it's a card game, and I like to think of it as if you could play it physically, but the more and more RNG they add, the less and less chance of this looking like a real card game and then just something made up online. You can only flip so many coins.
I think that's what puts a lot of people off Hearthstone, because it's very RNG based, like random stuff happening. I think that's what made me quit the game back. Like when I started the game, I was on the highest rank. Like I think I was like 20th place or something when they started in the legend rank or whatever. So I was pretty high, but then they added more and more RNG, and sometimes it was on your side and sometimes it wasn't. It decided the whole game, and that's what happens when you dev set for 1, when you needed it for 2 or 3, yeah, or when you Astral Warfare, then you do 2 damage, and you needed to do 3 or something, and then you lose because of a single RNG roll. That's pretty frustrating.
Yeah, I've got a whole song about RNGs, but I mean the sentiment is the same. Like I feel like games that I lose because the opponent high rolled. It's not a game. Like it was a game up until you played one card. You flipped a coin. You said, "Well, if it's heads, I win." Like I don't dislike there being some RNG. I do think that the game itself has an abundance, and especially when it's damage dealing cards. Like it's one thing if it's a card that creates a card, crucial choice, or random effect, mutations. You get a little bit of a choice in there. Demon Host is a little bit. It's a random element, but it may or may not be effective this turn. But it's something that you can benefit from. But when it's a random damage value, I understand that it's easy to scale the cost. It makes it like, okay, you know what? The Astral Warfare 2 to 5 it cost 8. That seems fair. Defensive Satellites cost 5. It's 1 to 4 to everything. That seems fair. Like there's a cost ratio, but the RNG ratio is so wide on some of these, and there's so many of them that it's not. I don't know. It feels like there's a, and I know this has been asked in the Q&As before. People have asked about the RNG, and every guild is quite pleased with the RNG element of the game. But I do think that it's too much. And when it comes to damage, especially A.O.E. damage, nothing feels worse when everything on your board dies, and you had like it just required a high roll, and it's massive high roll. I'm just like, well, did you really win? Did you really win?
And then there's the issue where it's like, I don't really feel good on the win, because the only reason I won is because I got a 4 on that def set instead of the 3.
Right. Well, something to point out here, and this doesn't get talked about as much anymore, and maybe this one element is something that every guild has improved upon, but it comes up occasionally when we're talking about RNG. There have been instances where the coding for RNG is skewed in a certain percentage, and you are guaranteed, or the odds of a certain result on the die roll happen more so than they should if you look at anything else. Back in the day, Astral Warfare rolled much lower. Like it just like habitually rolled much lower. It never rolled at the high max, and there was a lot of players that did a lot, like hundreds of games, abusing the Thousand Suns at the time. But they did, and it was like, and they mentioned it, and then every guild took a look, and during a Q&A they did confirm that yes, the algorithm for that roll was a little skewed. We adjusted it, and magically the damage got better. It didn't get bloated. I mean, it still can roll low, but it started to roll higher a little bit more. The same thing goes for troops that created mechadendrites. When they first changed the bloodthirsty mechadendrite, and they got rid of that, and they added that mechadendrite that gives you +3 health. Several players use like a Caliber Howl and a mechadendrite deck, And they proved that, like, you know, over the course of like this many 500 mechadendrite creations, like 70% of them are creating this one mechadendrite, and that it should be 25%, 25%, 25. There's 4 mechadendrites. And the RNG in the programming was skewed. So then in that element, is it really RNG? Like that, again, like I said, it's been a while since we've heard this discussion, and I don't think it's as bad or prevalent. Like maybe do the math. Like how many times does Planetary Purge hit your Warlord? Like I don't think it doesn't feel like it's every time, but maybe if you did the math, maybe there's something to go there.
Yeah, we have very smart people in the lodge, and one particular guy is like a programmer as well for gaming, and he was taking a look as well, because I think he doesn't have the code obviously, but he was like testing stuff, and he also found out some probably some suboptimal coding they did, because just remember how often void engagement draws void engagement.
Yes.
Like how often does that happen? Like 90% of the time.
A lot of people will cite confirmation bias, but no, packs are weighted in this game 100%. This will almost always draw this, and it gets really annoying. Abandoned supplies will draw abandoned supplies almost every time. You're just gonna have to live with that.
That's what you get for putting 2 abandoned supplies in your deck. Just put 1. Or at this point, don't put any. I mean, it's not that great of a card anymore.
I know.
But yeah, it's a thing that exists. And I do think, I don't think there's any AoE that people are able to currently exploit or take advantage of in that degree. But when you're aware of that, when you have that in your back of your mind, it again factors in, for me, it diminishes the value of an AoE play. Now, not everything is like that. Like I don't feel the same way if I get harrowinged or hammered. It's a variable, but it's a controllable variable. It's a variable that my opponent has either controlled the cards in my hand or I've controlled the cards in my hand, depending on which way I'm playing the tactic, and as a result, you gain a benefit. Just in the same way, like if you're playing a deck, and like the Mandragorax deck that I use is very burn heavy, RNG / AoE all over the place. Like, but I play it where that I can keep your board clear, and most of my AoE is really is RNG factored as like individual targeting. So if I can limit where that's going, I have a higher chance of taking advantage of it. Or at higher energy levels, it doesn't matter if I low roll into defensive satellites, because I can play a second defensive satellites or an artillery strike or use my ability and maximize the damage window that I'm doing in that turn across the board. And that's a little bit more it's a little bit more controllable. There's still that element of RNG, but it's not like, you know what, I'm just gonna throw this out here and see what happens. Like you're not relying on it solely. You're building with it to enhance what you're already doing. And I think that's a good kind of segue to talk in, like, what decks or warlords or styles do you feel best take advantage of the AoE approach, and in what ways?
So do we want to face the elephant in the room with Titans already, or just
let's do it. Let's talk about the elephant in the room without ranting, because we were going to save that following potentially whatever patch there is. But I mean, they do AoE a bunch.
Yeah. I would argue they are the AoE. Their shoulders can shoot everything. The new one we just got a new AoE where he can kill something and then deal wide, right? It's 4 damage, 1 wide. No,
that's 4 damage and stun.
No, the new one we just got. Doesn't he get a shoulder where if he kills something he deals 1 wide?
No.
Is it not? What am I thinking of?
You might have been thinking of something that we're getting. I don't know, like the new. Maybe that's going to be one of the new trader ones. It's got a Gatling. It's got a shoulder that deals 1 to 2. It's got a shoulder that hits 4 and stuns, and then it's got the giant cannon. So I mean, there is a ton of AoE on that.
I know what I'm thinking of. I'm confusing him with Diza Ray because they're just so similar.
They are very similar to Diza Ray. Yes,
that's what I'm doing.
Yes, yeah. You've got Death Pulse. I mean, you've got tactics that do AoE. You've got the weapons that do AoE. You've got the special cards depending on how you kit your Titan out. Like if you wanted the missile launchers that can do AoE. There's a lot to do there. They are on top of being the AoE board wide damage dealing thing, they're Titans. Like they've also got all that going for them too. But yeah, does it work for you? Does that, I mean, without ranting terribly, like how do you feel about that? Tell me where they touched.
Are we all happy about Titan's existence? No, I didn't think
That's
so.
pretty hard. It's pretty hard because they also have the loyalist ones have the AoE can't attack, and the Titan ones have the AoE stun as well. So in combination with like killing all your stuff on board, and potentially also getting energy back when they have the right combination of stuff with the little guy that refills energy, and then death pulse as well.
Mm-hmm.
When you kill the whole board and then drop a big Titan on their side, and you're just sad because you can't do anything. Stealth doesn't help because AoE just kills stealth, and Survivor doesn't help because they have multiple ways of layering their AoE as well. So they pop Survivor as well. Yeah, it's pretty hard.
Yeah,
I think
a lot of not good.
I mean, again, as of our conversation here today, we don't have a balance.
This
patch.
could completely drastically change.
This could be radically changed in some of these things.
You hear this? It might have.
They might, but I think the problem with Titans, the problem. It's in this one instance particular when we're talking about AoE. I think when it comes to Titans, the problem that they have when it comes to AoE is just like you said, their ability to capitalize on it. Like first off, right out the gate, they've got the option for AoE from turn 1 the rest of the game. Like they've got several, depending on how you kit them, whether it's tactics, whether it's troops, whether it's and the bigger ones, it's usually their armaments, have got that built in, and your opponent has to deal with that every turn in how they're playing. But on top of that, if I have a successful board clear, I can then, if I played my cards right, capitalize on it and drop a big troop that your board would have been able to deal with, and now it can't. It can't anymore. Or I can lock your board so then I can wipe it out and do that. Like it does too much. I think their ability to capitalize on the AoE, if you compare it to any other, the closest thing you could get would be the Thousand Suns and their ability to do astral warfare, defensive satellites, and maybe drop like 2 troops and have a board after wiping your board out. That's the closest comparison I can do. And it feels cheesy, but at the same time, then that means that they spent some energy building up some psycho energy, and you knew that play could happen, and it's not going to hit you for 10 to face with a giant gun on your next turn. It's not going to put a 10-10 troop on the board. They're playing a 5 energy tactic, an 8 energy psycho energy tactic, and then maybe 5 at 10 energy, maybe 5 more energy to play a troop. Like that's their biggest play. Whereas Titans, 10 energy, they can go off, they can wipe your board, and then there's a big shielded survivor 12-12 on the board. I mean, it might be a slight exaggeration, but that's not too terribly off.
I mean, it's pretty damn accurate. And there's nothing more miserable than, don't worry, none of them are active, and then they just play a card where everything's loaded all of a sudden.
Yes.
Firing.
Yep.
Well, this is slowly turning into the rant, but it has to be done because they are the king of AoE, and it's not even funny. I understand the idea, but I don't like it.
If we had to take a look at ways to, without doing a balance patch here on Titans, if we just looked at their best option for AoE, do you think it comes in the form of their weapon loadout, or do you think it comes in the form of their tactic combinations?
I'm have to get. I want to say it's a combo of the both, but that's just such a cop out. I might have to give it to the tactics because the weapons are a constant annoyance with AoE, but then they can swing out these tactics where it's like, oh, don't worry, it has ordnance too, so any vehicle you play is now doomed. The 2-wide ordnance too. They have ways to ready their weapons for tactics, so you can't even reliably keep them stunned and hope they don't load. And Death Pulse is the thing. They have so much AoE in tactic form where the AoE weapons seem pale in comparison, but they're still just as annoying.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. They can layer their AoE as well, so they can maybe do the weapons first and then Death Pulse afterwards to get the reward for killing stuff that had Survivor before, or the other way around. And they can always like do an AoE, look what is left, and then maybe add the Titan weapon then afterwards, or like the other way around. They have so much control, and they have so little like variance and like stuff that can go wrong with like death sets. They don't have to need like they don't need death sets, but some players still use it because it's just very convenient to just spam AoE all the time, every time, and you don't have to include anti-stealth. You don't have to include like stuff that deals with threats otherwise, because you can just stun or can attack and then AoE everything to death that the other player plays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
So for me, I think that the main problem, probably for me, the can't attack AoE, and in combination with like giving your everything, like giving a Titan weapon or a face frontline, and then they can do whatever they want because you can't interact with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unless you've got an unstoppable flanker, like that's good. There's only a couple. I mean, there are ones that exist, but they're not widespread use. And as far as neutrals go, technically there's Goldstone, but I don't think there's a neutral unstoppable flanker. Like I think all the neutral flankers are just like standard.
What a lot of people don't understand that needs to be pointed out is just because a faction has a way to deal with something doesn't mean it's not a problem for literally everyone.
Correct. Yep.
I don't want to have to be like, oh, well, if Night Lords have unstoppable flankers, it's like, cool. Actually, I don't think they do with that.
No, they don't.
It's like, but if I'm not playing Night Lords then with the Recon Claw on board, what am I doing? Mm-hmm. Recon Claw will die. It just will.
Yeah.
Everything has adjacent. Even if we don't look at their pure board-wide AoE, half their weapons will say damage adjacent targets.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of their weapons are random targets.
Or stun adjacent targets, yeah.
Yeah, and the random damage ones are the most annoying example of AoE because you can tell it was balanced for Titan v Titan. But if I'm a mono Warlord or if I only have one troop at a time, I'm getting hit for 6. It's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2 energy, 6 damage.
Yeah, it don't feel good. I'd rather Perturabo come back with stuff like that.
Well, talking about Perturabo, it kind of ties into with standard Warlords. Who would you say? I want to say is the next Titan or the nearest closest thing, but I mean, like in terms of the better representation of a Warlord playing AoE that takes advantage of it. If we're not talking Titans, because I mean, we talked a little bit about Titans. We recognize that they're there. We're hoping by the time you guys hear this that it's different. That it's different, but we can't guarantee that. This could still be true, and if that is, we're going to have a long conversation next week. But if we're not talking about the Titans, what would you guys say is the next one to discuss?
Like next king of AoE Warlord or just faction-wise?
Warlord or faction like that just plays it really well. Yeah.
I would have to say Raven Guard with the new gift stuff. I didn't mention them in my top 3 because even though I have a full Raven collection, I don't want to play them. They're just not fun to me. But when they swing out here with the entire board as sentence, and then they deal 1 damage to it, and then they have pings from here and there and Korax, it's just not fun. I don't like it, but they do it.
Yeah, it's the same principle, because they just kill everything you have with their AoE, then stealth, and then wait, and then ping you off with their mission. And that's everything. I can literally, tell you what every card is in their deck. When I see Korax, I know every card they will play, because everything is the same. Always the same deck, it's always the same principle, and it's just not fun.
But it's interesting, too, because, the Raven Guard they were a combo faction that did not have AoE. That was their one thing. They had a couple, random pings, but they were, Curse of the Raven was it. That was their one thing that could deal 1 damage, and it's 1 damage. And then you had, then they tweaked, Guerrilla Warfare?
Yeah.
And then that was it. And that's very small. Why play Guerrilla Warfare when you can play Defensive Satellites? You draw a card, but the damage window is targeted to 3 units, and it's a little bit smaller. There's arguments for one or the other. Come around with Shadow Killers. That's all the AoE you need. And you get to 6 energy there. They've got that potential in there. Then you combo it. Then you whittle the board down, and they do take advantage of that situation. Once your board is gone and you've got sentenced on your Warlord, where else is the extra damage going to stack? Like they've got in a different way, that the Titans take advantage of a clearing a board because that's kind of the same turn. The Raven Guard benefit from like what else you got? Like you've tapped out. I've got my mission. Your Warlords got sentenced, and now I can really go to town on things.
Mm-hmm. In the Raven Guard case, it's even in their AOE that didn't kill all your troops, like the leftovers, will just hurt you because of how sentence works.
Mm-hmm.
That 1 damage ping is now dealing 4 damage because you have sentence 3.
Yep.
And stuff like Rain of Fire, which goes from a more reliable death stats into a you just dealt 8 damage to me.
Yeah.
That's no fun either.
And maybe that'll change too by the time you hear this. Who's to say? It's possible. It's possible. We shall see.
The number 1 Warlord on High Terror.
Yeah.
Last season.
That's who it was. It's amazing. I don't think it had to be. I mean, I think it still could have been Lucius, but I think people just got tired of playing Lucius, so
except for one of them.
Yeah.
Well, remember, Korax wasn't the most win rate. He was just the most played.
That's correct.
So people just kind of went for him.
Yep. Sadness.
Who knows? This balance patch that we totally don't know if it's going to happen or not, folks, will hopefully shake it up.
We can only hope. We can only hope that's what it ends up coming to. I'm trying to think. I had a thought here for just a moment on AoE and Warlords, and what was it?
Cassian Vaughn being the best man alive.
Well, Cashin's classic. Oh gosh, you know what? I cannot.
You gotta love him.
I cannot recall what I literally had a Verge thought, and then I forgot what it was.
Happens to the best.
It
of us.
happens. It
When I
happens.
look at the Warlord, is there any Warlord, maybe except for Cassian, that has AoE capabilities, like really AoE the whole board?
I don't think anyone can cover the whole board because the closest you're getting is like Dar, I guess with his
Zardulayak, Madden Dragorax.
Yeah, I mean that's as close as we're gonna get. Not perfect. Cassian's really the king of I don't want this board to exist anymore.
And you're right. And on top of that, he's got the Salamander's pool, which really kind of helps back that up. Which was very nice.
And the best part of it is you can't say Cassian's broken. You can just say he's solid.
Yep. If he was broken, more people would be playing him. He'd be all over the place. He just does what he does. Yeah. Now, if I'm playing Astelin and I come across a Cassian Vaughn, I'm a sad Astelin. I'll tell you what.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Your life is over.
I will still play the game. I have beaten a couple Cassians as Luther, which is he's got a different end game versus Astelin, but not by much.
No.
But those are the challenging games, and I kind of appreciate that. I think that reminds me what I was talking. I was thinking it wasn't a Warlord, but I mean the opposite of AoE. When we're talking about Warlords or decks that respond well to AoE, that are able to overcome AoE. What are you guys' thoughts there? Because I think there are some. There are a lot of Warlords that create troops, drop troops, or Warlords that don't have to worry about it. Like the one thing with AoE, if you've got no other troops on the board, a lot of those AoE cards lose value. Yes, defensive satellites might still do 1 to 4 to the enemy Warlord, but you're paying 5 energy to do that to 1 unit. It's not as valuable as paying 4 energy for a mortar strike, which deals 5 damage to the 1 unit. So, in that regard, are there any Warlords that you think worry less about AoE?
Anyone who can produce troops with more than 1 HP. So, like Pollux, Zariel, like those guys, yeah, you AoE'd my board, here's another one. And there's a good chance with random damage, because most good AoE is random, or 1 damage. It's going to survive anyways. So really all you've done is annoy me. I think, the people who get hurt the most is Marir, because he can't make anything if you got reliable AoE. Like my Zardu completely ruins Marir. It's just the way it is.
I think single Warlords like Santa. He can just heal himself with the servo arms and shoot himself and then fall off guard. And I think he doesn't run very troop heavy decks, so every deck that is tactic based and doesn't have a lot of troops just usually doesn't care about AoE.
Yeah, I agree. Any troop or any faction where you're the only guy on board, or your troops need to die anyways, so like backlash based decks or even like certain missions, sure. I wasn't even thinking of them when I said that, but yeah. They'll come out fine if you're going to AoE them. They don't care about the 1 damage wide if there's only a Warlord to hit. Plus, Santo will heal off most of it.
Maybe even Lucretia if they do it correctly with the cultist leader or whatever it's called. The 1-3 guy that
the Preacher of Doom? Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
They can recover all right with that, and not to mention, with her ability, she can dump faster than the AoE can hit and take advantage of that if she plays it right.
Yeah.
You can just put stuff like McCormick's Reapers in it, or the guys that draw you a card. So basically, when everything dies, you get the cards back and then just spam again.
Mm-hmm.
So when you don't play Titans or less cutter, usually you don't have enough AoE to kill everything they put down.
The thing with those Warlords that are creating troops is then they're not using their action to attack. Typically they're used to create, and that's not a bad thing, especially if you've got like Defenders of Caliban and can play Strategic Mastery. Then all of a sudden all those troops that you create are +2/+2. That's pretty solid. Or the Emperor's Children, they've got Uncontrollable Focus, or Uncontrollable, no, not Uncontrollable Focus. Yeah, Unbreakable Focus. It's a U. I knew there was a U in there. A U focus, and not that there's a Emperor's Children Warlord that makes troops, but they've got a way to buff their troops, and they can play low cost troops fairly well. The Imperial Fists have got Archimus to give +2/+2 to their Astartes if they're going with the Astartes build, plus several other cards that give pluses to your Astartes. So there's ways to kind of capitalize that, and then hopefully get a thick enough board out early so that your opponent, by the time they get their AoE, provided they're not Titans, it has less impact. Now, that's the big thing, because you diminish the impact of the AoE. Like, you might hit me for 4, but all my stuff now has got 6 health. So you got to follow it up with something else. Otherwise, I'm going to buff it again. Like, there's a possibility there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Star Wars Defenders as well on the Imperial Fists. Very good.
That's a really good counter.
Yep.
Yeah, and it has a trigger, what's it called? A sentence as well. When the shield...
Yeah,
I'm kind of shocked that it doesn't trigger sentence. But then again, the wording makes sense for it not to trigger. It's just...
It's not explained clearly. That's the intention, the way it's supposed to be. If I've got Bastion 2 and Sentenced 1, and you do 3 damage on me, then the Bastion's removed, and it will trigger sentence. But if it's just 2 damage, and you get my Bastion, but you don't get the sentence, like, I do wish they would... I wish there was a couple things that they would clarify, do an FAQ, do something that really kind of explains this is how this interacts with these particular cards. Unfortunately, sometimes people don't learn, and then they freak out about it, or they're like, what is this? Like, no, that's the way it's supposed to be, Sorry. Like, destroyed troops from attacking is not quite the same as deal damage when attacking. Like, there's some cards like Udrikul, I could get free destruction on troops in drop pod. That's pretty awesome, And then you've got other troops that like only destroy what they damage, and that's not quite the same. Like where they're being attacked, or vice versa, or stunned. Like just minute differences, and I don't know. Like I think some of that just takes experience too. Well, with AoE, is there anything that we haven't talked about? Anything that you guys can think of that maybe should be included in the discussion with AoE?
I mean, not without going into a rant on Titans again.
No, we're forbidden to do that. That's we'll save that. Bottle that up. Drink that bottle. Put it down. Label it. Maybe next week we'll uncork it again. And when we do, listen, if we have to uncork that bottle next week, it's going. Have to get the we're going to go full tilt. We're going to go full tilt if we have to. Now, if we don't, great, cool.
We'll get more time on.
It will be lost into the echoes of space and time and the Eye of Terror Studios, and I'll be okay with it. But if we get to that point next week, I've got a lot to say, and I think a lot of other people will have a lot to say too. Unfortunately, we can only have 1 or 2 guests to join us, so we'll see who's available to have their say. But all things considered, we're not talking about Titans. So I talked so much about not talking about Titans, I feel like I've over-talked Titans.
Talking about Titans, yeah. Yeah, I think we really covered our main AoE stuff.
Okay.
So, what is very what is like maybe even a different topic is AoE from a different source than spending energy. Like spending the energy that you get, because when you use less cutter or Astral Warfare, you use different resources.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you combine these resources and AoEs from that source with AoEs from your like usual energy, it will add up pretty substantially. So
yeah, you get a lot more for it because then, like you said, like then you're taking out of a second energy pool, so you actually have a lot more energy to use on resources to capitalize.
And that becomes part of the problem where it's really hard to balance secondary resources, and they're not really good at it. E.g., we've had two games or two factions rather in a row where it's like, all right, we're going to use a secondary resource, and they came out busted because of it, and we were somehow still surprised when it happened again. Not really. We saw this coming.
I think they were hoping it wouldn't. They're like, maybe we got it right this time. Nope, try again.
Maybe if we do the exact same thing, it will work. Guys, it didn't work. Well, fuck.
Well,
that's a shame.
If you have to talk, so we talked about the top three or our three favorite faction-specific AoEs. What would you say are your three top neutral AoEs? Because I do feel like they should be in different categories. There's so many of them, but there's neutrals that are just as good, and probably you can combine with some of those.
Start off strong with Def Sats. It's a classic. I'm not even memeing for once because I know Scuff has a vendetta against me and my use of Def Sats.
You can't hear my head shaking. You just have to believe that it is.
I can't blame him. But I'm going to be unironic with, even if I'm only rolling ones, half the time all I needed. Informant Network, it's great. It's a good anti-stealth, and say you just have to get rid of a bunch of Jaegers. I'm just going to use Jaegers because it's an example everyone who plays this game knows. There's going to be a board of 5 guys. You're going to want them dead. Booyah. And I guess Artillery. Artillery Strike, that's a 4 energy to everyone.
Yeah,
2, 3 targets.
2 to 3, yeah.
I get Mortar Strike mixed up a lot name-wise. It's a classic. It's 2, 3 targets. Realistically, most boards won't have more than 3 targets unless it's a really wide board. And then if it is, the HP is probably around 2 anyways, so you're probably fine. I'll have to give it to those 3. They're really basic, but they're the popular ones without touching Planetary Purge, which is just too random to like.
Okay. How about you, Diony?
Yeah, I would say Informant Network is number 1. I think Axel put it right because, like I said, when you have 1/1s and or stuff that is damaged and you want to clear it, usually Informant Network is enough, and it is anti-stealth as well. So Informant Network is number 1. I think a lot of people sleep on Volcanic Instability. That's a very good card, but the problem is with Titans around, it's just it hits for free something, and usually not what you want. So. Against Titans is pretty bad, but otherwise, if Titans wouldn't exist, Volcanic Instability is better, I think, than Def Sets. But yeah. And then number 3 are probably Def Sets because it's just when it works, and sometimes you just need that one AoE spell more or that one AoE card more, and Def Sets is usually the way to go because the other ones just don't hit the whole board. Yeah,
you usually want to touch as many troops as possible with the AoE, or else you're getting down to a point where it's just select damage anyways. Okay. You don't want that.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with Informant Network. I think it's one of the best neutral AoEs for the dual purposes that serves, the energy cost of what it is. Personal tastes, I like Orbital Bombardment because there are a couple decks that use it well. It's a good finisher for factions that don't have finishers. If you're obviously Titans diffuses the impact of Orbital Bombardment, but if you play in a deck where you can get your opponent to just have one Warlord, that's basically 10 damage. There's some decks that can, I think Constantine Valdor mentioned the Custodes way to play. You can potentially get 2 of those off in one turn. That's nice. It's fun. And it just feels like you're purging at the end of the game when you play that for 10E, and that ends the game. That's kind of nice. But a big one, Doombringer. Doombringer is one of my favorites. Like that, just at 8 energy, you get a 7/5 body. You're dealing 2 to the board. You can usually clear your opponent's board with that. And now they have to figure out a way to contend with Doombringer. Not that that's terribly hard. It's fairly easy, but
but the new ordinance
it requires resources, and the impact of clearing your board for your opponent is sometimes beneficial, and it takes heat off of your face. Ordnance does make it easier to deal with Doombringer. I'm not going to lie, but that is just, it looks like a 3-headed dragon coming out, stomping on all these little bodies.
It is pretty cool.
Some good stuff. That's my personal favorite. So
no, yeah, that's fair. I kind of forgot about Doombringer simply because I was thinking purely tactics when I think of a lot of AoE. But no, it's great
out there. Yeah,
you got a resolution. If it was relentless, it'd be unusable. It's one of those cards.
I know some people are thinking like, "Oh, you didn't mention Deceived Cultist. Come on, listen."
Okay.
Listen. One Deceived Cultist by itself, not so good. She Deceived Cultist by itself, that's a different story.
I'm gonna be honest. I still ran Deceived Cultist in my normal Alpha Legion decks. You
should at least consider having one, depending on how you play. Just because, a board-wide one, it's nice. And then there's a body that they don't want to ignore,
You spam out a bunch of Jaegers, those are just going to be my go-to because of the 1 HP. I'm going to play this.
Is there
another thing is, if you can drop 2 of them and then play an Informant Network, there goes Muster for Lupercal. All of them are gone.
Oh, that Muster.
You got a lot of the reasons AoE is good is because it can counter Muster.
You like some Muster on your hot dog? Yeah? How about Sons of Horus on your hot dog?
Sons of Horus sending me to hell, and I don't like that.
That's hot in a handbasket, ladies and gentlemen. Well, Diony, when you're not playing Legions, what is it that you do?
So I have 3 kids. That's usually what I'm doing, like something with the kids or with the family. And I study business psychology as well, so I have a lot of stuff to do. And when I'm not learning or doing stuff with my family, I enjoy painting or playing some tabletop games, not just 40k, but Age of Sigmar as well. Or recently I started Game of Thrones, like a Song of Ice and Fire tabletop game. That's pretty fun.
I didn't know they had a tabletop. Is that through Fantasy Play?
No, I think it's from Simon, Cool Mini or not, and I think they are under like Asmodee or Fantasy Flight. Yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting.
That's pretty cool because it's a rank and file game like the old Warhammer Fantasy, and they come on movement trays as well. So you're moving trays around and removing models from the trays. It's pretty cool. And they come fully assembled, so you don't have to assemble the stuff as well.
That's
and cool. The models are pretty nice.
And I imagine because it's the Game of Thrones universe that there's some characters that are able to be included. Not that every character was actually in the battles, but I mean there's some key ones. Yeah,
that's the cool thing because you don't have like single hero characters, but they all go into the units, into the ranks, and so you don't like run around with Eddard Stark, but he's like a part of a unit. And then you have units that are NCUs, so non-combatant units, and they fight for the tactics board where you can it's like a Game of Thrones basically. You can like get money that helps your troops gives them health.
Idea. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because Cersei doesn't go like on the front lines.
Right.
But she does something like behind the lines, and it's a pretty cool concept, and I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
That is cool.
That does sound neat. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the miniatures are based on the books, so they don't look like Peter Dinklage, but they're still pretty cool.
I mean, that doesn't mean I can't 3D print a tiny Peter Dinklage.
Right. Well, I mean, to be fair, you have to pay like for the likenage, the likeness of the animals and stuff. And
that would be a bitch.
That would be a bit. That's cool. Yeah. That sounds like I wasn't even aware that was a thing.
Didn't even know about it.
It does not surprise me. It's a good IP to put on a tabletop, and it sounds like, especially that they kind of captured the concept pretty well with the 2 theaters. So that's cool.
Definitely have to check it out.
Well, Axel, what you?
Yeah, really, I can recommend it. It's pretty fun.
I might have to check it out because I do like Game of Thrones. Me? Well, I'm still running my Spelljammer campaign. We did session 1 the other night, and it was a blast. They're in the hub city is the type of place where mind flayers and beholders just walk down the street, and a bunch of newer players seeing those creatures just casually. A couple of them freaked out because they didn't know what was going on, so that was fun. Besides that, still painting my Alpha Legion army slowly and surely. And the new 40k mobile game is actually decent. The Tacticus, yeah, they added
I heard it was
Black
okay.
Templars recently. It's pretty good. I have some fun playing my Chaos Boys. They added Black Templars the other day, so that's an option.
So far, I'm intrigued.
And we got a couple named characters like Helbreck.
Now, do you play like a campaign versus story, or is it PvP?
There is a campaign, yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's 3 campaigns right now. You play as Ultramarines against Necrons, Chaos against Imperial Guard, and then Orcs against Black Templar. But each campaign has a mirror version where you play the other faction.
Okay. I like that.
It's one of those types of games with a lot of timers and stuff, but it's not like the other 40k card game or mobile game that came out recently. The one where you're Primaris Ultramarines. It's just like wait 16 hours for a building to make. It's actually pretty fun. I like Tacticus. It's not too complicated, but yeah, it's neat. I'll give it a recommendation. Don't spend money on it, obviously, because it's a free game, but try it out.
The graphics are all right? The graphics are pretty good.
Yeah, it actually looks pretty good. I like the look of the Chaos guys. I mean, Abaddon looks great. I'm just going to put it now. Abaddon in this game looks amazing. I'm going to screenshot it for the podcast people, but the people at home can just look up the game or even play it. But it does look pretty good.
Give it a whirl. The
only problem is Helbrecht's wearing his very stupid helmet, which, I mean, like, I love the idea of characters wearing dumber equipment than they need to, but I really like Helbrecht's, like, full faceplate.
Are you talking about his over-the-head helmet, or are you talking about his brow?
I'm talking about his brow piece, which always makes it look like he's wearing an old-timey football cap.
Yeah, I always kind of wondered, like, about the logic on that. Like, what's it going to protect? Like, you've got something, it's like a headband, and then you got this giant bald head that's like, please hit me on top of my head.
I think what it is an iron halo, so it provides a little force field, but it looks so stupid. And I honestly don't know if what I just said is correct.
That is not correct.
So it's not. It's just a head guard.
It's just a head guard.
Why?
I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's to protect his nose from getting broken, or if it's just like something to do with the whole, just the character image. Like whoever did the initial art, they're like, look at this. Let's put something on his face so he looks a little bit more distinguished. I have no idea.
Okay,
but it does. It's not like any war gear. It is just it's just ceremonial.
Yeah, I looked it up. He definitely has an iron halo, but I don't think it's the thing on his head at all.
No,
so he has an iron halo.
The iron halo is an item on his backpack there.
Yeah, some Marines wear it on their head like an actual halo, but yeah, his isn't. So he just wears that to look like an asshole, and I do respect that. And then his helmet version is so much better.
I do like his helmet.
It's such a good model. Anyways,
all right. Well, I've been getting busy here, getting into the fall, and trying to get back into track here. Still got off getting up over COVID, but we'll make it through. Diony, do you got anything you'd like to plug while you're here?
I just want to plug my lodge and my lodge mates. They're like, our community is amazing. We have a lot of cool guys, and that are like, we also try different games. And we also want to transition into the Warpforge game together. And I'm just very lucky and happy to have met all of these awesome people here. And yeah.
Are you sure you want to plug Juan? Juan's still part of Dreadhost, right?
Yeah, like, okay, I will plug everyone but Juan. All right.
Okay, so yeah, that's what I agree with. I love you, Juan. Fuck you. No, Dreadhost's great. I know a bunch of your guys. They're great people.
Yeah, I'm very happy. I'm very honored to lead them.
Yeah, and everyone loves Lucifer. LCFR is a great guy. That's it, folks.
How about you, Axel? Any plugs?
Yeah, I'm the usual. I'm going to plug my boy Drew Lee Clark on Instagram. That's better known as Dornstash. He does My Beautiful Crab, and he does art in general. This is a very nice profile picture. I adore crabs. Yeah, that's me.
Okay. Well, no surprise. I'm plugging deck slots, baby. Now,
that's what you got to do.
It's possible by the time you hear this that we might have some more deck slots.
Do you really
Maybe.
think Balance Patch will come with deck slots? That's a bit of wishful thinking.
Listen, it is wishful thinking, but at the same time, I've got a little vision in my head. Just like last December, people got their Nightlord patch for Christmas. I would like to come down the stairway Christmas morning. It's white outside, the snow's coming down. Maybe you've got some Nat King Cole playing over the speakers. The fireplace is crackling. The tinsel on the trees decorating and glinting. I know it's only September, but 3 months out, I'm already envisioning coming down and unwrapping a package, and it's from Everguild. And inside is an abundance of deck slots, one for every Warlord. And I can just imagine it, and it warms my heart. I've got on my Christmas sweater, my have some cold eggnog, maybe with a little nip of brandy. Take a candy cane, stir it around, look out the window wistfully, and say, you know what? Thank you, Everguild. Merry Christmas.
Man really loves his deck slots.
That's what I want. I want to see that. I want to live that experience. I want people to live that experience too. But we're way down the ways. Maybe we'll come up with some more holiday. Are we going to do the holiday cheers again this year? Like, I come up with some more.
We might have to.
I think we need to. I think we'll do some more carols, some Christmas carols. I'll come up with something for deck slots. We'll see.
That sounds good.
Deck the slots with balls of like I'm thinking about it already. We're getting there. Let's do it. All right. Well, Diony, I appreciate you making the time to talk with us today about AOE. It's kind of like I said, is a surprise topic or a backup topic because we were really hoping for the best.
Not a bad one.
But I think we had a good conversation. I think we had a good topic. I think it's worth listening to folks, and I hope people maybe it made some people think about things that they hadn't thought about before. And maybe there's some AoE cards that we didn't mention that people are like, I can't believe you didn't mention this card.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, but if there's one, let me know somewhere. Throw it down in the comments in your podcast app or PM me or whatever. Like, I don't know, be part of the conversation. And yeah, that's what I got, folks. So I guess next week we'll talk about a balance patch, or listen, I should say it this way. It's going to be a threat. We're going to talk about a balance patch next week, or else we're going to uncork that bottle and it's going to get easy.
If we get the balance patch next week, because we're recording Sunday. If it's somehow past Sunday, I'm going to lose it. There's no way for it to go that far.
It's going to be a while. If EG wishes that they want to feel the wrath of a bottle uncorked and some Titan elephant in the room talk really going off, you don't want to listen to that. I don't want to talk about it. Don't make us do it. Don't make us do it, EG.
We're trying to put off or anything about Titans as far as we can.
We really are trying. We've tried. Listen, we've tried for 2 months. We're still trying. Like, don't make us.
The salt mines are full. We are not even close to the entrance yet.
No, not even.
There's just more salt coming.
There's bodies that have fallen into the ground, and their backs are all blistered and bleeding from the salt that's cracked their skin because they have not tread as far as we, and yet we must still clamber forward into the mines, and we don't want to do that. We really don't.
We've hit the bottom, and there's still places to go. It's just so much.
So with all that aside, we'll see what next week brings. But I want to appreciate everybody for making the listen, tuning in, checking it out. And Diony, once again, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
That's it for the week. Bye.
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 It ends here.
This has been another episode of the Warp Chatter Podcast. Thank you for listening.
I can't help but appreciate your talents.
It was inspiring.
I need some wood.